So for those of you who didn't see my video explaining what the Amazon Associates program is and how it's going to work with this channel, let me do a brief recap on that for a moment. So Amazon has created a program called the Amazon Associates program that helps YouTube creators such as myself in a way to monetize our channel. Because as you probably know, YouTube has become stricter and stricter about what they want to monetize on YouTube for their platform. It's becoming very hard for YouTube creators to make money from their videos the way they used to, or to grow their channels with income the way that they used to. The reason why is they're saying it's not advertiser friendly. Point in case, when you report the subjects that mainstream media doesn't talk about, it's not advertiser friendly. So they won't monetize your videos. So if you do shopping on Amazon, if you make purchases, you go to the link below, you click on it, it takes you to Amazon just like you normally would go to Amazon. You can then search for whatever product it is you wanted to buy, and by making that purchase after clicking on the link, this channel will get a commission of that sale. And it is a great way to help support this channel and help us spread our message and grow this channel so that we can reach more and more people out there. So we thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoy the video. So today I'm going to just do a brief recap of some things that have happened within the last week as far as the news is concerned. Some you may find more important than others. But we're going to go through a brief little recap, then we will get on to a bigger topic for the video today. So within the last week, Beto O'Rourke finally threw in the towel and he has officially dropped out of the race. Very long overdue in my opinion. Beto O'Rourke clearly was just not going anywhere. His campaign was pretty much a joke. And some of his stances, I think he was just trying to do whatever possible to draw some publicity to himself, to get some attention and recognition, thinking it may pump some life back into his campaign, but it was honestly getting pretty pathetic towards the end. So, he's finally gone. In other news, Kanye West. Now, a part of me is going to knock what he's come out against, and another part of me, at least for his reasoning, is going to applaud the man on it. But he has come out taking a stance against pornography. Okay then, so let's break that down just real quick. So Kanye West has come out and basically said he does not approve of the adult film industry, pornography. Said that I think his dad left a Playboy magazine out and he saw it when he was 5, and it's basically given him a pornography addiction that he's been battling ever since, and it's something that he's had problems with. And here's what I find so ironic about this. Who is Kanye West married to? Kim Kardashian. What did Kim Kardashian do that landed her in the big news, the big, all over the pop culture, TMZ and so on and so forth? What did she do? She made a sex tape with a rapper named Ray J. Okay then, so on that note, I have to sit there and also look at that and say, so dude, you've got this qualm with pornography, yet you're married to a woman who got her publicity by making a sex tape and releasing it online. So that aspect, I have to sit there and say, this sounds like more of Kanye West's crazy attention-grabbing, publicity-seeking stunts that he's been doing over the last couple of years. On the Trump train, off the Trump train, back on the Trump train, jumping off again. So, yeah. I don't know, but According to Kanye West, he claims that he has taken this new stance because he's genuinely trying to fight back against an addiction, that he just doesn't think that it's morally right, and and it's all part of his new album, Jesus is King, I think, or something like that. So hey, if you're trying to be a man of family values and morals or whatever, and that's the road you want to take for your life, and you really want to try to help bring upon some of that change in society, hey, you know what? I have no problem with that. Okay? If anything, I do think there are very strong influences in pop culture today, not necessarily just pornography, but more adult themes that are so mainstream that young kids see them. And I do think that, you can call it poor parenting or whatever. I do think that there's too much content out there that kids are seeing at too young of an age, and I think it is impacting their behavior. And as we all know, if you haven't studied this, I would invite you to go back and do it, and you will find a link that pop culture has influenced every single generation. When Elvis came out back in the 50s, everyone hated, the way he shook his hips on stage. They wouldn't show him below the waist on the Ed Sullivan Show. Now, all the grown-ups in the room said, that's sickening. Why is he doing things like that? All the young people loved him. They started trying to dress like him. The greaser look came into play. Okay, move on to the 60s. The Beatles come over from the UK, got shaggy hair. All the grown-ups in the room said, oh, hey, them boys need a haircut. Who they think they are letting their hair grow like that? All the young people grew their hair like that. Move on to the 70s, the hair got longer, the clothes got baggier, the tie-dyed shirts got wilder. All the grown-ups in the room said, that looks trashy. All the young people did it, dressed like it, grew the hair out, started doing more and more drugs. 80s, the hair got teased, the music got a little more heavy, so on and so forth, people. But music, if you notice, was the key one that I focused on. And so I do think that a lot of that does have its influence on the youth in the world. That being said, I'm not saying we should necessarily be censoring. I just think we should be using more common sense in when we start letting people consume certain product, music or movies or whatever. That being said, the big story for today, whistleblowers. And no, this one is not a whistleblower on President Trump. So, some of you may know about this group, some of you may not. There's a little organization called Project Veritas. I first started hearing things about them back in the 2016 election cycle. They've been very good about getting hot mic recordings of people in pretty high positions, whether it be in political campaigns or news networks, admitting the fraud they're trying to perpetrate on the American people, the cover-ups that are going on behind the scenes, the scheming, the planning, just to give you some simple definitions, whether it be within the Clinton campaign or behind the scenes of CNN, why they focus on Trump so much and that it's trying to, pander to a certain base and get certain ratings. They've been very, very transparent, and there are a lot of people who don't want this information to be out there who've tried to push back, get their videos taken down, so on and so forth. Well, they got a hot mic of an ABC broadcaster. I believe the name is Amy Robach, I think is how you say it, or Robach. If I'm butchering her name, I'm very sorry. But they got a hot mic recording of what she's had to say about the whole Jeffrey Epstein case. So, without many more waiting around and hesitation, let's just hear what she was caught saying on the hot mic with Project Veritas.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything.
Now, I want you to just gather what she's saying there. We found out about the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, really what? Earlier this year? Maybe late last year, but I think it was earlier this year. She's basically saying she had this information 3 years ago. Three. She had all this information ready to go. Real journalism, actually, here, people. Real journalism. A real news story. And what did ABC say to her? What did the execs up top say? Oh, no. Nobody knows who Jeffrey Epstein is. So what? Your freaking point? We have to know who someone is to find out that there's a billionaire out there running a child sex pedophile ring? We have to know who this guy is for you to give enough of a crap to do your job and do real journalism and talk about it? Really? We have to know him. So only celebrities and well-known people can be talked about. Oh, you mean like President Trump? Right. So if he had done something like this, oh God, we'd talk about it to no end. And rightfully so, if he had, by the way. But he didn't. Jeffrey Epstein did. And so who did you and CNN and MSNBC and all you other trusted news sources spend your time harping on and talking about for the last 3 years? Donald J. Trump. Meanwhile, someone actually did some journalism here. Someone actually found a newsworthy story that the public should have been made aware of outside, actually, of the boundaries of foreign policy, outside of the boundaries of, the economy or whatever. This is actually something that people would really want to know and would actually care about outside of the usual political realm. Now, it would have tied into politics. Why? Because of the Clintons. And as we've established, the Clintons, especially good old Billy, pretty close to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, some might say Trump was too. There was some interaction between Epstein and Trump, but there was definitely a lot between Bill Clinton and Epstein. So, 3 years ago, by my math, that would be, carry the one, 2016. What was happening in 2016 again? Oh, that's right. There was a presidential election. And it seems like there was a candidate that the mainstream media and the DNC were all trying to rig. Who was that again? Hillary Clinton, maybe? Just, I'm struggling with this. I feel like it was Hillary Clinton. And Epstein was close to Bill. The mainstream media was doing everything except kissing Hillary's ass physically. And so we don't want this news article to come out only because no one knows who Jeffrey Epstein was. No, it would have nothing to do with the fact that it might have just tanked Hillary's campaign, that her and her husband were linked to a massive child pedophile and a sexual predator. No. That wouldn't have nothing to do with the price of rice in China, would it? So, the Mickey Mouse News Network, which is what I referred to ABC as, being as how Disney is their parent company, just as corrupt as anybody else. But not like we didn't know that. Not like we didn't know that. But this is showing right there. Real journalism, real news. No one cares about that. Why don't you talk about something that people actually want to hear about? Why don't you go out there and talk about Trump for a little while? Talk about how orange his skin is and that he looks like a big Cheeto. Yeah, go on out there and talk about that. Hey, that's ratings. You go on out there and talk about that. No, forget this Jeffrey Epstein mess. No, nobody knows him. Nobody cares. And really, we can't hurt the Queen. So and this might do some damage to the Queen, and that's a big no-no. That's a big no-no. Just if you want to know what happens when you question the Queen too much, go ask Matt Lauer. Now, of course, we all know why Matt Lauer actually got fired, sexual harassment, blah, blah, blah. But Matt Lauer tried to push back on Hillary a couple times, and he supposedly got the beat down when the camera went off by the old Queen herself. She reportedly proceeded to verbally rip him a new one. So, yeah, we can't damage the Queen. You're out of your mind, man. You need to use your head for something besides a hat rack here, Amy. You can't cover this story.
I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God,
And you know what? You would have every right to be pissed if you were a journalist and some asshole sitting behind a nice big desk collecting a nice big paycheck was telling you can't inform the American people and do real journalism like you're supposed to, and that's what your job is, all because they don't think it's going to draw enough ratings, it's going to damage the old evil Queen herself, Hillary, it's just not newsworthy because he's not well known enough. Whatever the reasoning is, someone is basically saying you can't do real journalism, you can't cover real newsworthy stories, you just have to keep pushing the status quo propaganda because that's what we want you to talk about, even though we're supposed to be covering the news. And then it comes out all this time later, and now everyone's scrambling like, oh, it's the big news story, all because someone leaked the crap out or whatever the case. Yeah, okay. I would be very pissed myself if I were Amy, and rightfully so.
It was what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. I had it all 3 years ago. So do I think he was killed? 100%. Yes, I do. Because he made his whole living blackmailing people. Yeah. There were a lot of men in those planes, a lot of men who visited that island, a lot of powerful men who came into that apartment. When I heard he was found dead, someone was like, I knew immediately. And they made it seem as though he made that suicide attempt 2 weeks earlier, but his lawyers claimed that he was roughed up by his cellmate around the neck. That was all like to plant the seed, and then that's why I really believe it. Like, really believe it.
Wow. So the lady who had this story 3 years ago also says she doesn't believe he suicided himself. Something a lot of us probably have been wondering about this whole issue. And I believe there was a coroner's report that just come out, or autopsy or something that just come out within the last week or something, that says that all indications are pointing towards it being a homicide and not a suicide. The plot thickens. So she's now defying the mainstream media's narrative that it was a suicide. She who had the story 3 years ago and was not allowed to cover it by her news network, now also says, yeah, I don't believe it was suicide. And now you've got autopsy reports that say, yeah, this looks like it was a homicide. And she's saying she believed it was a homicide. So I think this is perfect examples of just how bad the mainstream media is, just how corrupt they are. And as a matter of fact, if you need any further examples of that, then just take a look at this photo that I'm going to put up on the screen right now. What you see in front of you is a crime scene. Or is it? So, a few years back, there was an incident basically right in my old backyard, Woodruff, South Carolina. I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Not very far away, stone's throw from here. As a matter of fact, I work in Woodruff, South Carolina. Okay? A lady was being held captive on a big old piece of property, fenced in a steel container or something. Okay? She's being held captive. People heard her banging on the container. The police came. They cut the container open. They found her inside, chained by the neck. Now, I'm sure that the place was a crime scene of sorts, because, I mean, this woman was being held captive there. But what does ABC do? ABC, what you see in front of you, is a reporter, and I believe that might be old Sheriff Chuck Wright standing over there close to her. And they have set up two little posts that you couldn't see in view of the camera. I was unable to find footage, and probably good reason why, because some locals who were dropping by to see what was going on took a picture of this staged event, and they put up their own crime scene tape. They took two posts, they set them up, and they ran crime scene tape around it and put up their little background props for their news reporting so that they could show, oh, this is a big crime scene, look what we're covering, adding to it. I mean, this is getting into the realm of when the hurricane came along and the reporter's out there, like he's just struggling to get through the wind and the rain, and then you just see two people go walking right by him. What? And they're walking like that. Yeah, man, the heck are you doing? They're not fighting any wind. They're not fighting any rain. And meanwhile, this guy's like, oh, God, I can barely hang on. Oh. Okay. Furthermore than that, I believe there was one, might have been a CNN reporter trying the same thing during that hurricane. Like, got down on his knees or something so that it looked like the water was way up on him. Meanwhile, people are like walking right by, and it's like shin high. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is just simply ridiculous. This is how bad news has gotten. There's a reason most people turn into YouTube channels like mine and others that are more well-funded and have many more subscribers for their news, because you can't trust what TV's telling you anymore. It's all paid for by big pharma, big corporations, big campaign donation, whatever. It's corrupt. And you can't trust it. And Project Veritas has been exposing things like this, and they've been catching more and more of these people who actually work for these networks saying these things. Now, I don't think anyone would be surprised. I wasn't able to get a picture of the statement that Amy had to release, but more or less a gist of it. It sounds like something that ABC actually typed up themselves. And the gist of it was this. Basically, that this was a story, but we were not able to corroborate this and that and blah, 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 and so we couldn't report it. Basically, some big defense that the network was completely in the right for doing what they did. Does it sound like she really felt that way in this clip you saw? The hot mic? Did it sound like she really felt like there was not enough evidence to cover this story? Didn't sound that way to me. Sounded to me like she thought there was a big cover-up and that no one wanted to actually report the news. That's what it sounds like to me. What it sounds like to you, you be your judge. But to me, it sounds like she thought the news didn't want to do their job and cover the news. And so I say this once again. When this is a big reason why when President Trump uses the term fake news, it lands. Man, it lands, and it lands hard. People don't trust these news networks anymore. And the more things like this come out, the less that they are ever going to trust these news networks. These news networks have become, quite frankly and simply, a big, massive joke. Pure and simple. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Independent Report. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up and like the video. Also, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to ask or topics you'd like us to cover, please drop a comment in the comment box below. And also, please subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe, ring that bell so you'll stay up to date when we drop new videos and you'll get notifications of it. And also, please support us on Patreon. Funds are going to be used to grow and improve this channel so we can reach more and more people and spread the message that the mainstream media doesn't want to tell people. We hope you'll tune in next time.